of a one-world government under a supreme God-man who oversees and directs a new era of the birth of a new human super race. In fact, I would offer the idea that Hitler was but a crude dress rehearsal for the rise of the Antichrist. Referring to the underlying threat of the New Age movement, Dave Hunt, in his book, America the Sorcerer's New Apprentice, states, "Are we in any real danger? Something of great significance is occurring, and it must be taken seriously. The last revival of occultism played into Adolf Hitler's hands, and the eventual victims numbered in the millions. One can only wonder where the current and far more pervasive renaissance of such occultism will lead." End quote. Now, all of this may sound a little far out, but personally I don't think so in the least, especially given the fact that a neo-Holocaust has been happening and continues to happen on modern-day American soil. There are murder mills operating in our country almost every day of the year, and have been doing so for over 15 years. These murder mills are conveniently called abortion clinics that have killed over 25 million unborn children at a rate of 1.5 million per year. Think of it, 25 million innocents murdered. This is over 4 times the number of Jews killed during Hitler's Holocaust. The fact that a neo-Holocaust has been legalized, justified by humanistic thought, and sanitized and sterilized, that is happening in our midst today is nothing less than stunning. In Randall Terry's book, Operation Rescue, he elaborates on this theme, saying, quote, "Is child sacrifice an ancient ritual belonging to barbaric past civilizations? No. Child sacrifice is practiced every day in hospitals, clinics, and doctors' offices all across America. Because the tiny victims are concealed within the wombs of their mothers, people never hear their silent screams and rarely see their brutalized remains. But you can be sure that the powers of darkness hear and see with pleasure. Satan receives the blood of these little ones as human sacrifice, and he is not going to give up this stronghold and demonic altar without a fight." End quote. This abortion abomination clearly shows that other forms of Holocaust are very possible and real. And by opening the door to the legalizing of the murdering of innocents, the door is also potentially laid open to abuses of euthanasia applying to any group of individuals, especially those deemed genetically unfit, societal non-contributors like the elderly and the crippled, and possibly the category of the spiritually unfit. Not only are there strains of secular humanistic thoughts that justify and legalize the murdering of innocents, but also New Age philosophy adds further fuel to potential neo-Holocaust fires. The doctrines of karma and reincarnation can be primary bases for the justification of murder on a spiritual basis. And it's interesting to point out here that well over half the world's population believes in reincarnation. Now, part of the rationale goes like this in the New Age. They say that since the soul is immortal and endlessly reincarnates, then there is no real death. There is a startling conclusion that death is an illusion. Furthermore, the law of karma, the law of impersonal cause and effect, states that anything and everything that happens in a person's life is a result of their karma. This is to say, whatever is right, no matter what the situation. No matter if there's an abortion, a murder, child abuse, no matter what is happening in a person's life, that is, according to this doctrine, correct and right for that person. This leads to the frightening conclusion that, in truth, there are no victims. Quite logically, the conclusion is drawn from reincarnation and karma, that is, that death is an illusion and there are no victims, creates a potentially lethal philosophical combination that can be used to justify any or all sorts of killing, from abortion to severe abuses of euthanasia to outright murder. Ramtha, one of the most famous demon spirits being channeled today, claims that under certain circumstances, murder is justifiable and karmically beneficial. He says that, for example, if one person killed another in a past life, then in order to balance the karma between the two people in a current life, the murdered in one lifetime may murder the other and be totally justified. Also, abortion is widely practiced in the New Age under many justifications. Let me give you a few examples of some of these justifications. The first says that after the abortion, the soul will be able to reincarnate into another body anyway. Since death is an illusion, abortion is no problem whatsoever, they say. Another justification says that the soul of the unborn child knew that the mother would abort it. Therefore, the abortion may be a balancing of karma from past lives or a learning experience for the unborn soul. Also, many New Agers feel that if their, quote, spirit guides or higher self provides the spiritual guidance that the abortion is okay, then the abortion must be in balance with the divine order of the universe. In conclusion, then, a reincarnation and karma-based philosophy can be used to justify all sorts of killing and murder under a wide variety of different rationales. Now, there's another very important perspective to be apprised of in this regard. This has to do with the fact that those in the New Age have a widespread negative reaction to Orthodox Christianity. Now, please don't kill the messenger for the message here, but basically in the New Age there's a very pervasive perspective that Orthodox Christians are evolutionary laggards, that in some way that they are spiritually inferior. They're looked down upon from their supposed mountaintops of spiritual superiority and look down upon the Christians and regard them as spiritual kindergartners. And this leads to a very pervasive and deeply rooted superiority complex. It's important to note that the demon spirits being channeled today, and many of the foremost New Age teachers, have a recurring aversion and irritation to Orthodox Christianity. Their teachings are so very tolerant about so many other religions except Orthodox Christianity. And this becomes clear in light of the dark forces knowing full well that it is only Jesus Christ and His Church who can bring about the Antichrist defeat. This recurring aversion leads to a very distorted separating the wheat from the chaff theme that keeps cropping up in the New Age millennial prophecies. Let me give you a few examples of top New Age leaders who claim that during the millennial time of transition from today's old age into the New Age, that there will be a time of so-called cleansing and purification of lesser humans from those who accept the New Age. For example, the TM guru, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, writes, quote, "There has not been and there will not be a place for the unfit. The fit will lead, and if the unfit are not coming along, there is no place for them. In the age of enlightenment, that is the New Age, there is no place for ignorant people. Nature will not allow ignorance to prevail. It just can't. Non-existence of the unfit has been the law of nature." End quote. Here we have a prime example of New Age Darwinism, propagating the idea that we have the survival of the spiritually fittest and the demise of the unfit and spiritually ignorant. Also another quote from Ruth Montgomery, often called the herald of the New Age. She writes, quote, "We are indeed on the threshold of a new age, which my spirit guides say will be ushered in by a shift on the earth on its axis at the close of the century. The souls who help to bring on the chaos of the present century will have passed into spirit to rethink their attitudes." End quote. We see in this quote the scapegoating of a certain segment of world civilization who is blamed with bringing on the chaos of millennial confusion. It also states here that they will have passed into spirit to rethink their attitudes. This is to say that they will be eliminated, purified off from the face of the earth. In these two quotes and so many others that I could bring forth, we have the recurring New Age theme of the elimination or purification of spiritually unfit races as the New Age God-man race of the future goes to the fore and inherits a one-world government under a one-world religion. The $64,000 question here is, if this happens, by whose definition would be the spiritually fit versus the unfit? If the Antichrist is in power at the time, then it would be by his definition. Christian leader John Ankerberg, in his book The Facts on the New Age Movement, notes this underlying dark side of the New Age. He writes, "A thorough reading of New Age literature will show that some New Agers sanction the persecution of Christians. They do so on the basis of the need to remove those who may refuse to accept or attempt to prevent a spiritual uniting of humanity. This is one of the darker aspects of the New Age. This is the rub. The New Age of love and harmony may have to be repressive for a time to usher in their version of peace on earth." End quote. Furthermore, Christian author Tex Mars, in his book Dark Secrets of the New Age, takes